Good day, everyone. Today we will be walking you through our project, the Student Grade Evaluation System, a Java program designed to automatically assess a student's academic performance. The system begins by gathering some basic information from the user, namely the student's name, their scores in quizzes, class standing, and major exams, along with the percentage weight assigned to each of those components. For example, quizzes might be for 20% of the final grade, class standing for 30%, and major exams the remaining 50%. Once these details are entered, the program moves on to computing the student's weighted average. It does this by multiplying each score by its corresponding weight and then adding all three results together. So the formula essentially becomes the weighted average equals the quiz average times its weight plus the class standing score times its weight plus the exam average times its weight. This calculation gives us a single, accurate presentation of the student's overall performance, since it accounts for how much each category actually contributes to the final grade.
After finding the student's average score, the program uses a quick Java shortcut to make three simple decisions. First, it checks if the student passed. A score of 60 or higher means pass, while anything lower means fail. Next, it checks for honors. High score from 96 to 100 gets summa cum laude. 92 to 95.99 get magna cum laude. And 88 to 91.99 get cum laude. Scores below 88 do not get honors. Finally, it checks the DNS list, where a score of 84 or higher counts as eligible. In the end, the program prints a simple report with the student's name, average score, pass or fail status, honors, and DNS list result.
Algorithm. Dito sa algorithm, isa itong grade competition system. Isa 'tong program na kumukuha ng mga impormasyon at score ng isang estudyante para later ay makakalkula ang kanyang final grade. Sa step 1, start. Ito ang simula ng ating proseso. Dito nagsisimula ang execution ng program. Sa step 2, ask user to input student name. Hinihingi hinihingi natin sa user ang pangalan ng estudyante. Sa step 3, read and store student name in variable. Dito naman sa read and store ay kukuhanin ng program ang input at inilalagay ito sa memory para magamit. Dito naman sa step 4, as user to input score of quiz 1. Dito naman, hinihingi natin ang score of quiz 1. Step 5, read and store the score of quiz 1 in variable. Dito naman, kukuhanin ng program ang input, then ilalagay ito sa memory. Sa step 6, as user to input score of quiz 1, dito naman, hinihingi natin ang score of quiz 2. Then step 7, read and store the score of quiz 2 in a variable. Dito naman, kukuhanin ng program ang input, then nilalagay ito sa memory. Sa step 8, as user to input score of quiz 3, dito naman, hinahanap natin ang score of quiz 3. Then step 9, read and store the score of quiz 3 in the variable. Dito naman, kukuhanin ng program ang input, yung score of quiz 3, then ilalagay ito sa memory. Dito sa step 10, as user to input class standing score, dito hingiin natin ang class standing score. Then step 11, read and store class standing score in variable. Dito, hihingi ng program ang input, then ilalagay ito sa memory. Sa step 11, as user to input prelim major exam score. Dito hingiin natin ang prelim major exam score. Step 13, read and store prelim major exam score and variable dito. Kukunin ng program input. Yung input ay yung major exam score. Then, ilalagay ito sa memory. Step 14, ask user to input midterm major exam score. Dito, hinahanap natin ang midterm major exam score. Step 15, read and store. Ganun din ulit. Kukunin ng, kukunin ng program ang input. Yung input is yung midterm major exam score. Then, ilalagay ito sa memory. Step 16, ask user to input final major exam score. Dito, hinahanap natin ang exam score, ang final major exam score. Step 17, read and store final major exam score in a variable. Dito, yung program is ah, ay kukunin ng input, then ilalagay ito sa memory. Step 18, ask user for the weight percentage of quizzes. Dito, hinahanap natin hinihingi natin ang percentage of quizzes. Step 19, read and store. Parang ganun din. I-ano ng program, hihingiin ang input. Yung input is yung weight percentage of quizzes. Then, ilalagay ito sa memory. Step 20, as user for the weight percentage of class standing. Dito, na hinahanap natin hinihingi natin ang weight percentage of class standing. Step 21, read and store the weight of class standing in the variable. Dito, kaya hihingiin ng program ang input, ang weight percentage of class standing, then ilalagay ito sa memory. Sa step 22, as user for the weight percentage of major exam, dito naman, hinihingi natin ang weight percentage of major exam. Step 23, read and store the weight percentage of major exam in variable. Dito naman, hihingi ng program ang input, yung weight percentage of major exam, then ilalagay ito sa memory.
Now, for the next part of our algorithm, I'm going to explain the step-by-step process on how our system calculates the student grade, checks if the student has passed or failed the subject, checks for Latin honors classification, and dean's list eligibility. Now, for the first step, we divided each weight percentage by 100 to get the decimal value and we stored them in their own variable. Next step, we calculated the sum of the quizzes and we divided it by the total number of quizzes to get their average. Same goes to the exam scores. We calculated the sum of the exam scores and divided it by the total number of major exams and stored it in a variable to get the average. Now, to get the rate average, we multiplied the score of class standing, the average of quiz, and the average of exam by their respective weight, and we stored them in their own variable. After that, to get the final grade, we added each weight average and stored it in a variable. For the next step, we checked if the final grade or if the student has passed or failed the subject. Our condition is that if the final grade is greater than or equal to 60, then if it returns true, then the student has passed the subject. Otherwise, the student has failed the subject. Next, for Latin honors classification, we check if the first condition is that if the final grade is greater than or equal to 96, then we classify them as summa cum laude. If 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 it returns false, then we check if the grade is greater than or equal to 92. Then if it returns true, then we classify them as magna cum laude. If it returns false, we check if the grade is greater than or equal to 88. If it returns true, then we classify them as cum laude. If it returns false, then as we classify them with no honors. Next, we check if the final grade is greater than or equal to 84 to check if the student is eligible for Dean's List. If the condition has returned true, then the student is qualified for Dean's List. If if it returns false, then the student is not qualified for Dean's List. Then for the next step is the output. We display a complete grade report by showing the student name, final grade, remark, Latin honors classification, and Dean's List eligibility. And for the last step, the after after the output, the system ends.
Pseudocode follows a step-by-step description of the algorithm. It is written in plain English but with a code-like structure. In our project, we are tasked to input or ask the user their name, their quiz scores, their class standing, their major exams, and the weighted percentages of the quizzes, class standing, and in the exams. So here we will initialize by using the start to run our program. Then we will prompt enter the student name to ask the user to input their information. Then next is we will use the read command for the program to obtain the value from the user's input and so on. So after the student or the user input their information, their scores, their class standing, their weight percentages, it will be processed accordingly and will display a final output whether they are eligible for the dense list, their honor classification, and the remark whether they passed or failed the program.
After the input process, the system will now need to compute the student or the user's scores, which is the quizzes, class standing, and the examinations. So first, to get their decimal value, the system will have to compute or will have to get their weight percentage for each category, namely quizzes, class standing, and the examinations. Now, it is then divided by 100 to get their decimal values. Next, the system will have to compute the average of the quizzes and the major exams. To get the average of the three quizzes and the major exams, each will be divided by 3. So for the quizzes, we will add the quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3, and divide it by 3, as well as the examinations, which is the prelim, midterm, and the final examination scores divided by 3. So for us to get the final grade result, we will need to add the weighted quiz score, weighted class standing, and the weighted exam. But we haven't got that. Though to get that, earlier we computed or the system computed the weight percentages of the quiz, class standing, and the major exams. Then we got the average of the quizzes and the major exams. Now, to get the weighted quiz score, weighted class standing, and weighted exam, we will need to multiply. So for the quiz score, we will multiply the quiz average score and the quiz decimal value. Then for the class standing, we will multiply the class standing score and the class standing decimal value. Since the class standing doesn't have an average score, we will get the raw score for the class standing score, then multiply it from its decimal value. Next, we will have to get the exam average score and multiply it by the major examination decimal value. So after we got all of that,
the system will proceed to compute the final grade results. So final grade results equals the weighted quiz score plus the weighted class standing plus the weighted exam. So with that, the system will proceed to determine whether the student is eligible and the student's classification.
The continuation for process and the explanation about our output in pseudocode. So, remarks. Remarks doon malalaman kung yung final grade result ba ng estudyante is pass or failed. So, in our pseudocode, nakalagay din ay remarks equals close open parenthesis, final grade result greater than or equal to 60. Then, kapag ka greater than 60, pass yung i-output tong remarks. And if not, failed yung ilalabas niya. For online classification, dito malalaman estudyante kung pasok siya sa Latin Honors, which is the Summa Cum Laude, Magna Cum Laude, and Cum Laude. And dito din malalaman kung Dean's List, kung eligible ba siya for Dean's List. For Summa Cum Laude, dapat ang final grade result na lalabas or magiging result man is greater than 96 para may output sa system na Summa Cum Laude yung honor classification niya. And for Magna Cum Laude, dapat ang magiging final grade result nun is greater than 92. And for Cum Laude naman is dapat ang magiging grade result for Cum Laude ng estudyante is greater than 88. And if less than 88 naman, i-output ng system is no honors or hindi siya qualified as cum laude. For this eligibility naman, dapat ang magiging final grade ng estudyante pag kinompute is greater than 84 para mailagay doon sa system or may output ng system na eligible siya for Dean's List. And if yung less than 84 naman yung sa Dean's List eligibility, ang may output nun is not eligible. For the output, explanation for our output in pseudocode, dito na yung display the student name, final grade, weighted grade, remarks, honor classification, Dean's List eligibility. And for the student name, syempre yun yung pangalan nung sa estudyante na ilalagay or i-output ng system na nakalagay doon sa system. For the next one is final weighted grade plus final grade result. So, eto na. For final grade result, eto na yung mga pinagsama-sama or na-compute na quiz score, exam score, and class standing. Dito na i-display or i-output ng system. For remarks naman, eto na yun kung pass or failed yung grade na na-compute sa kanila for final grade. And for honor classification, after i-compute kung pass or failed, i-output na ng system kung pasok ba siya sa honor classification, kung pasok ba siya sa Summa Cum Laude, Magna Cum Laude, and Cum Laude, yung grade ng estudyante na naka-input dun sa system. And for the last one is Dean's List eligibility. Dito, sa Dean's List eligibility, i-output kung eligible ka ba or hindi, or yung grade mo ay pasok ba sa Dean's List or hindi. I-output nun kung pasok is eligible and kung hindi naman is not eligible. And that's all. Thank you.
Hello everyone, we will be explaining our flowchart. But before we explain it, let's first identify the symbol used. Okay, first one is the oval, also called the terminator. It represents the start and the end of the program. The arrows are called flow lines. They show the directions of the program's execution and indicates the sequence in which is performed. They guide us from one symbol to the next, making the flow of the program easy to follow. The parallelogram is the input-output symbol used for entering data or displaying results. The rectangle is a process symbol. where calculations and operations are performed. The diamond is the decision symbol used to evaluate conditions with yes or no outcomes. Finally, the small circle is called a connector, which links one part of the flowchart is to another. So now we will proceed to our flowchart. This flowchart shows how a student's final grade is calculated, how the pass or fail remark is determined, and how the honor classification and Dean's List eligibility are decided. So let's begin for the left side of our flowchart. The process starts with a symbol or the terminator. The first input is the student's name. Next, the program asks the user to enter the score for quiz 1, quiz 2, and quiz 3. After that, the user enters the class standing score. The next inputs are the three major exam scores: a prelim exam, midterm exam, final exam. Then, the user enters the weight percentages for the quizzes, class standing, and major exams. So, with that, these percentages determine how much each category contributes to the final grade. Since percentages cannot be used directly in the computations, the program first converts the percentages into the decimal values by dividing each percentage by 100. After converting them into decimals, the program computes the average quiz score by adding the three quiz score and dividing the total by 3. Next, it computes the average major exam score using the prelim, midterm, and final exam, then divides the total by 3. After getting both averages, the program calculates the weighted scores. The quiz average is multiplied by the quiz decimal weight. The class standing score is multiplied by the class standing decimal weight. And the major exam average is multiplied by the major exam decimal weight. After computing all the weighted scores, the program adds them together to get the final grade result. The flowchart checks if the final grade result is 60 or higher by using the decision or diamond shape. If the answer is yes, the students receive or classified the remark as passed. If the answer is no, the students receive the remark failed. After determining the remark, the flowcharts continue to the next section, which is represented by the connector labeled A.
For the right side, from connector A, the program proceeds to determine the student's honor classification based on the final grade results. The first condition checks whether the final grade is 96 or higher. If yes, the student is awarded summa cum laude, which is the highest academic honor. If the answer is no, the program checks whether the grade is 92 or higher. If yes, the student receives magna cum laude. If not, the program checks whether the grade is 88 or higher. If the answer is yes, the student receives cum laude. If none of these conditions are met, the student is classified as having no honors. After determining the honor classification, the program checks the student's Dean's List eligibility. The condition asks whether the final grade result is 84 or higher. If the answer is yes, the student is marked as eligible for the Dean's List. If the answer is no, the student is marked as not eligible. And lastly, the program displays the complete grade report, which includes the student's name, the final grade result, the pass or failure marks, the honor classification, and the dean's list eligibility. After displaying all the results, the program reaches the end symbol, which means the process is complete. And that is how our grade report flowchart works. Thank you for listening.
Hello, this is a presentation and una kailangan natin lagay yung import Java utils scanner. Para saan 'to? Para makapag-import yung user kasi kung wala 'to, hindi tayo makakahingi ng score sa nagta-type. Tapos gumawa tayo ng class student grading system. Tapos sa loob nun, ginawa natin ng si scanner, SC in short. Si SC yung magiging tagakuha ng mga ita-type ng user. Dito, magpe-print muna tayo ng enter student name. Tapos, isi-save natin yung mga sagot sa variables na name. Yung name dito na nakastore yung pangalan ng mga estudyante. Sunod, kukunin natin yung third quiz. Yung quiz 1 para sa quiz 1. Yung quiz 2 para sa quiz 2. Yung quiz 3 para sa quiz 3. Ginawa natin INT kasi buong numero lang naman yung score. Tapos, ito yung class standing score. Dito ilalagay yung grade sa recitation, assignment, attendance. Double, ginamit natin kasi baka may 0.5 or 0.25. Tapos, kukunin din natin yung 3 major exams. May major prelim exam score para sa prelim exam. Major midterm exam score para sa midterm. Tapos major final exam score para sa finals. Last, hiningi natin yung bigat o percentage kasi 'di ba hindi natin pare-pareho yung weight percentage of quizzes. Ilang percent yung quizzes, class standing percentage. Ilang percentage yung class standing. Weight percentage of major exam. Ilang percentage yung major exam. Dapat yung pinagsama yan, 100% lahat. So basically, kinolekta na muna natin lahat ng data ng estudyante gamit CCS. Yung mga variables name, quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3. Last standing score, major prelim exam score, midterms exam score, major finals exam score doon. Naka-store yung mga scores. Tapos yung mga percentage naman doon naka-store kung gaano kabigat yung bawat part of final grade. Yun lang.
Hello everyone, I'm Elginus Guinador from 1CSC and this is the second part of the explanation of our program. So after coding a scanner and creating a new scanner to help user to input data, we will now explain how we coded the process and output of this program. So as you can see, we use double for this part as we are trying to find values of our quizzes, class standing, and our major exams in a decimal form. I created variables that will help me create my program. And after doing so, I will be dividing them into 100 to get our weight percentages. Then after doing so, we will create a double and new variable once more, quiz average score and major exam average score, adding the quizzes, adding the major exams, and dividing it to how many quizzes and exam we have. We will now proceed in um, the ternary part. We will create a string, then variable, and we will place the grade, the final grade result, the variable that will determine if whether the student passed or failed. So final grade result greater than or equal than 60, question mark, which is ternary, conditional, passed or failed. Then we will create a new string, honor classification, final grade result that will determine whether summa cum laude, magna cum laude, or no honors. And lastly, string, Vin's list, check, and final grade result. This will determine our, Vin's is the students eligible for Vin's list eligibility, eligible or not, greater than or less than, or greater than or equal to H4. We will now create a system output print to help print out the results of our data by using concat, by inputting student name and then using arithmetic and name. That is called concat. And lastly, we will close our scanner. Always close your scanner, guys. That's all. Thank you.